Hello friends, and welcome to this new video of our course Enabling Spring Security in a Spring Boot web application. In previous videos we have learned how to implement the Spring Security on a web application using the Spring Security configuration and the user details and the user detail service, and we implemented all this on our simple web application that we have built in the previous course, building a web application using Spring Boot and Timeleap. So we have implemented the Spring Security on the pages, on the login form, on all the other pages. Now in this video, in the coming video, we will talk about enabling and implementing the Spring Security when a user wishes to reset his or her password. This is the focus of this video and the next video. We will talk about this thing. And we will see when a user wishes to reset his or her password, we will see how can we validate the email, how we can set a reset link and send it to the user email, and how the user will click on the reset link and redirect it to the page where he can change his password and reset them to a new password. So let's dive in. Now the first thing, we need to make some changes on the design that we have made in the previous course. In the previous course we spoke about the controller, the main controller, and how we request mapping for the check email page, which is this page, the check email page. We did the main controller on this page, but at that time we haven't applied the Spring Security on the process of resetting a user new password. So in this course we will talk step by step in detail about this process of resetting a user password. And the process to reset the password starts with checking the email of the user who wishes to reset his or her password. And the process is pretty simple. The user enters the email, we validate it. If it's registered, then we set a reset link and we send it to the email of the user. The user click on the reset link, he will forward it to a new page. In that page he can reset the password, and the password can be persisted in the database. This process is shown in here. Now I will go only with the process of the resetting. I will not go with the other things such as the reCAPTCHA, because these already we have discussed in the previous course, building a web application using Spring Boot and Timeleap. But when the request mapping, we open the check email page. This is a post method, post request, because we are validating the email with the database. What we need is one token, one important token, which is the email of the user that we will need to validate. The first thing is that we use this service and to check it with the database if the user registered. If it's not registered, then we stay on the same page and we give just a message that this email is not registered. Otherwise, if it's registered, we start the process of making the reset link and sending it to the user email. The first thing is that we get that email of the user email. This is the token that we have set about. The only one token we need when we check the email, when we validate the email. Is it a string, a user email string? So we get this email with the optional class get method, and then we start creating a reset link assigned to this user in the database. You remember when we were creating the user database, for each email column, we created a column also by the name of TokenDB. And this TokenDB column, we're supposed to save the reset token. So for each email, for each user, there is a column assigned to the reset token to save in it. So Now here, once we have got this user, we need to set this reset link to this user. So we get the user and we set reset token. Of course, we use the UID. We get a random reset link. Now the reset link is ready. We need to persist it in the database using the service and this method, the save method. So now the reset link has been persisted in the database. The next step is that we start the process of sending this reset link to the user email. We simply use the simple main message class, which takes few properties, like what is the email you are sending from, the date of the sending, the email to whom which we are sending, in this case the user email, this one, and some subject and the text. The text is, you could set whichever text you wish, and then you set the page that will be forwarded to. When the user click on this reset link, he or she will be forwarded to this page. And then the most important thing is the reset token. The reset token, which is created by this. Now, in reality, you will get something like this. Click the link to reset your password, and then you will see this reset link. Now I'm using it on my own web page, and I'm resetting a password. So you will get the reset password get, which is the page that you will be forwarded to when you click on this link, on the reset link, and then the reset token. The reset token, as you can see, these numbers, these are the random numbers that have been generated by this UUID. It's something like this one. Now remember one thing. Now this is the page that you will be redirected when you click on the reset link, which is the next step, which is this step. This is the page. Notice that this reset token name should be exactly the same as the reset token in here. Otherwise, you will get an exception saying that this reset token has no value, or it is not assigned. So make sure that the name of the reset token in here is exactly as the same as the reset token, the token in here. Now you can use multiple tokens, not just a reset token. You can use another token, such as the authority token or the email token, whichever token. But the point is that any token you use in here and you add it in here, the name should be mentioned exactly as the same in here. Now then we just send the email using the mail sender class, putting the email details all in this sender. Now we need to get the time of the email sending, when the email was sent. We need to get that time exactly, and I will show you later why we need that, why we need this time. So what we do is that we create a field, a static field actually, a static field with the type of long, and we get the time when this email was sent using the calendar class. Get instance, get time, get time. This thing will give us the exact time when we send this email to the user in milliseconds, and we will use it later on, and I'll show you when we will use this thing. Finally, once the reset link has been sent to the user, we give just a note that the reset password has been sent to this email. This is the process of creating and validating the email, creating a reset link, and sending the reset link. Now we need to do, and we see how we can implement this with the DAO, with the model, with the repository, and with the service, because each one of these steps represent a step in here. So let's dive in. So the first thing is that we need to check the email whether it's registered or no, which is this step. And to do that, we create this method, and then we need to save the reset token with this step. Okay, now we implement these two methods in the DIO implementation, and the class of the check email DIO implementation, which will implement the check email DIO, which is, by the way, it's a repository. Now we need to create a repository for this check email, because both these methods we will use the repository of the check email. So we have to create an interface by check email repository, and we extend the JPA repository. We take the model of the check email model, and then we create these two one method, find by email, which takes the email as an argument. Now we implement it in here, we auto-wire it, check email repository, and then we use it here to check if this email is being registered or no. Then this is the first step. The second thing is that when we need to save the reset link, we use the save method, which is part of the JPA repository. Since we are using the JPA repository, it has a save method by default, so we can use it in here, check email repository.save, and we save the reset link in this case. Now at the service, we create the same thing, the same two methods, and at the implementation, check email service implementation, which is, by the way, it's a service. At service, we need the at service annotation because it's a service class. We auto-wire the check email DIO, and as well as the check email repository, and then these two methods, the find by email and the save, which we have used in here, check email service, find by email, check email service dot save. We will use the check email DIO dot find by email, and this way we can implement this implementation which is available in here by checking with the repository. This is the first step when we want to validate the email, create a reset link, and then send the reset link. And I will show you a presentation on my own website. So let's open my own website. I go to forgot password. I will enter my email, do the reCAPTCHA, then validate. Now we need to validate, is this email registered with the database? If it is registered, then we will create a reset link, and then we send it to the same email. Validate. Okay, a reset password link has been sent to info@ProHorizon, so which means this email is registered with database, and that's why the email have got one. I received one email, which is the reset link, which I will show you right away. Okay, this what I have just got now, the request, reset password request. As you can see, click the link to reset your password, and this is the reset password page, reset password get. This is the page, and this is the token, and this is the value of the token. Now when I click on this link, I should be forwarded to this page, to reset password gauge. But before I being forwarded to this page, some checking about this token should be done. But this is for the next step I will talk to you about. But for now, we have made this reset link and we have got it through the email. Now we will talk how this, if I click on this link, how I will be sure that this link is authorized and it's authenticated. So there should be some checking on this link, and this is the next step with this few pieces of code. Let me show you. Let me click on the reset link and we will see what will happen. So I will click now. As you can see here, we have been forwarded to this page in which we will select the new. The verification process is in this piece of code, which is the reset password get page. As we have seen in here, the reset password page, which is also mentioned in the reset link. And then the most important thing is the token, the reset token. Now we will use two methods: collect reset token and validate password reset token. So the first method which takes an argument of reset token, which is this reset token, which is, as we said, is this reset token. And in our case, as we have just showed you, this one, this is the reset token. This will be the argument in here. Now this reset token, we need to save it as a string. For later on we will need it to use it. This can be done with this method, collect reset token, and the implementation of it. How can we collect this reset token? Is that we take the reset token, which, as I said, is this one, and we check it with the repository. Is it available with the repository or no? Using this if method. Either it's not available, and we see is it the length of the reset token bigger than 0, and if it's not empty, if it is not empty. And finally, we see is the reset token equals to the reset token that is saved in the database. If they are matching exactly character by character, then that means we will retrieve this reset token and we place it as a string, as a return type with a string. And this how we will get this reset token as a string, and we will save it, we will keep it, because we will use it later on, as I have said. Now let's come to the second part, to the second method, which is validating that this reset password is authenticated. And the thing is that possibly could be that this reset token somehow could be faked, duplicated or faked. Someone wished to access to our database illegally. So we need to authenticate that this reset token is exactly the token that we have sent to the user by the link, by the reset link. So we need to validate it. And the way to validate it is also at the DAO, we create this method which also takes a reset token, and at the implementation we will do the following. We will check, is this reset token valid in terms of the building or the build of this reset token. The second thing, we check that this reset token expiration date is not finished, is not expired, because usually when we give a reset link, when we send a reset link to the user, to his email or her email, we place an expiry time after that time this link will not be valid. So we need also to check the expiry date of the reset link. And the third thing is that we need to make sure that this user who's trying to change, reset his password has an authority to do so, has an authority, this authority, change password authority. And this is a very important thing. The authority of the user who wish to reset his or her password should be change password authority. So let's go by these steps one by one. The first thing is that we need to check that this reset link, the build of this reset link is exactly as the build that we have saved previously when we created the reset link. It should be the same build, character by character. This is the first thing we need to check. So it should be not null, and it shouldn't be less than equal 0 the length of it, and it should not be empty, and should and if the reset link not match with the reset link that we already have saved in the database, in this case that means this reset token is invalid. So this is the first thing we need to check. The second thing is that we need to check the expiry. At the model, at the check email model, we have set something which is called the expiration, and we gave it to a certain amount of milliseconds, which is 1 day. This is the amount of milliseconds for 1 day, which means that this reset link will have an expiry date for 1 single day, which means it will be valid for 1 day. Afterward it will not be valid and the user cannot use it. So now let's start the process of checking the expiry. You remember the email sender time that I told you about previously, which is this one, the time when the email was sent. Now we will use this when we want to check the expiry. So the time that had been sent plus the expiration date plus the 1 day. So this time you are sent plus 1 day, it should be less than the current time. If it's less than the current time, that means less or equal 0, that means this token has expired. So this time, the total of this time should be bigger than 0. In this case, the token is not expired. Otherwise, the token has expired and we cannot use it. And the third thing is that we need to check the authority of this user. Does this user have an authority when we created this user, when this user registered as a new user? Did we give him an authority, change password authority? And you remember at the database, for each user we also gave a user, when we create a user, either a role or an authority. So in this case we will check this user whether it has an authority, change password authority. If it has, that means this user can change his or her password. So we do these 3 checks, which will in total will validate the password reset token. If these 3 things checks in this case, that means our reset token is valid and we can use it using these 3. So if the token is not valid, then we remain with the check email module, with this page, with the check email page. If the reset token is expired, we remain at the check email page. If anything has gone wrong, we remain with the check email page and we give a message. In each case we give a message. But if everything goes well, in this case
if this token is valid, if this token not expired, and if this token has a change password authority. In this case, we will move in to the reset password page, which is this page. So this is how we validate this token. Once we have reached to this stage, that means we have checked the email, verified the email, made the reset link, sent the reset link, and then we verify the reset link that we have used. The next step is that we start the process of resetting the password and saving it in the database, and this we will talk about in the next video. But before that, let's finish with here with the check email service. The same two methods, we will use them, and then at the check email service implementation also we refer to the DAO with the collect and with the validate. That's it. This is the entire process of checking the email, validating it, creating a reset link, sending the reset link, then we validate the reset link that we have used, and we saved the reset token, because in the next step we will use this. Okay, this is the entire step. Now in the next video we will start the process, as I said, of resetting the password. As in here, the user will enter the new password and then persist it in the database. Thank you very much for watching.